decided that maybe I should work on a new project because I've been seeing this on YouTube a lot. This snake, the Python snake project, right? And for this, we're going to need only two files: snake.py and main.py, because the snake file will be for the class, right? So we're going to need two classes. But before we do that, let's import turtle real quick, right? Because that's the main module we're going to use. And let's call this class eat, and let's define it self with a value of x and y. And in this, we're going to say self.body, because that's just going to be our body, if that makes sense. Turtle, right? And then we'll say self.body pin up, because we don't want to be leaving the line on the view, right? So then we'll say self.body.set position, right, equals to x and y. Then we'll say self.body.color equals to red. Self.body.shape equals to square. Okay, now we've done that, let's create another class called parts. And in this class, this is where when they eat the thing, then another part will be added onto the snake. So let's define a class real quick. In it, self.player and eating. Alright, this is really important. Self.body equals to turtle. Turtle. And self.body.shape is square. But before we do that, let's call pin up real quick. Self.body.pin up. My bad. Pin up. Square. Self.body.color green. Self.xy. So we create a new variable called xy equals to player. That's why this comes important. S core minus eating times 10. Now this is really important because the eating will be how many times the food is eaten. Like eating will add 1, so then it's only going to be minus 1. It will add 2, it's only going to be minus 2, 3, minus 3, minus 30, 20, right? So it can keep going back. In this, since we don't really need it much, we want it to be on the same axis. We don't need to do minus, add, and so on. So we're just going to call it player.y core, which is player.y coordinate. And then we'll do self.body.set position into self.xy and self.yx. Pretty simple. So we got that done. Then we'll go to main file. In this, we're going to need to import 3 modules. Import turtle, but one of them we are going to delete later. Then we'll import random. Import time. And the time module is the one we're going to delete later, but we're going to do that way later. From snake import eat, because that was the class, and then we'll say from snake import parts. That was the class too. Then let's set the window. Let's draw the window out. Window equals to turtle. That's cream. Oh, my bad. Window.bg color, background color. equals to black. Wall equals to turtle, because this is where we're going to draw out the borders, so that's why I call it wall. And then we'll say wall dot set x equals to -150, because that's where the, forgot what I was about to say. Set x -150, but that's all the way at the left, and that's gonna be your max where the player can go. Well, that's set heading 90 degrees, because we want to shift it to 90 degrees. We want to turn the head of the wall, so it will draw out right. So it's going to draw out to right, not right, but you know, white. So now we can see the head, and let's say wall dot shape equals to triangle. So this is, let me show you an example of what I was trying to do. 1 second, let it load. Okay, starting. So you see how it starts right over here? Because usually when a new object is made, it starts in the center. It starts in the center, but now it's starting over here. And usually when it does start, the head is pointing to the right, but this one is pointing up. That's why you use a set heading. Alright, now let's draw out the borders. Wall dot set position equals to, yeah, this is going to be kind of long, so I'm just going to speed it through. Give me 1 second. About to pause it. So I typed it out. So now, let's say I'm going to turn off my lights. Okay, let's run it and see. So yeah, this is what it was supposed to do. So now let's start working on the variables. Alright, so first we're going to need a variable called alive and set it to true. Right? It's going to be important later, not right now though. Then we're going to say player, because this is going to be the player. Ooh, Lord, turtle, and then player dot color equals to green. Player dot shape equals to square. You're also going to need to call pen up on this player. So player dot pen up, my bad, pen up, right. We might change the shape later, but that's irrelevant. So now we need to create a variable called eating, because if you remember about the class, right, eating equals to 0, then we say x equals to random dot randit -130, because if you know the borders were -150, 150, 150, 150. We don't want it to be so close to the borders, but we want it to be exactly enough that the player could get killed, you know? And then 130. And y equals to random dot randit -180 and 180. So now this is how it's going to look. Let's see. We're gonna have to run this to make sure there's no errors going on. So we have the player right there. Oh, we haven't called the enemy yet. So let's see. Food equals to eat x, y. Alright. Now let's run and see. Yeah, that looks right. So now we have one more thing to do. Let's call speed equals to 1. That says how fast the thing is gonna go. List equals the empty bracket list. That list is going to be very important for the moving function of the parts of the snake. I'll explain that later. Times equals to 1. Stuff equals to 1. And then we are going to need to say parts equals to parts with a player and stuff. And this is how that look. See, that's how I want this to look, but what's up with this? Alright, so now let's start the moving function. But before we start that, we need to call this. We need to call turtle.listen, so it can listen. Thank you. Turtle.listen, so we can listen to the keyboard movements. Turtle.onKey move R, because that's going to be the name of our first function, and then we will say write turtle.onKey move left, name of our function, and we will say left. Turtle.onKey move up, name of our function, up. Turtle.onKey move down, name of our function, right? And then let's call the window.main loop. Okay, so now it's time for us to create our function. So let's say def move R. Okay. Bless me. Move R. Def move L. Def move up. Def move down. Okay, so we got that figured out. Next, let's start writing the functions. Alright, so first thing we're going to need to do is use the global variable, so we can use them in this global speed, global alive, global food, global eating, global list, global times, and window stuff parts. Then let's write a while true. And this is important because we want this to happen continuously without the user continuously hitting left. So when the user hits left, it's going to keep going till the user hits another key, and it's going to keep going and do that function over and over again till it hits this key, hits that key, and so on. So xy equals to player dot score, right? Xy equals to xy minus speed. Minus equals speed. So we're minusing xy, the value of player core, by the speed, which is 1. So we're minusing by 1 each time. Then now we're going to change the player's position. Set position equals to player equals to equals to xy and player dot white core. Okay, and now we're going to need to have a for loop, but before we have the for loop, let's create a variable called OK equals to 1. This is important because in the for loop we want to go down the list. We want to go down the list and move the body according to the list. For I in list if stuff is less than or equals to len list parts body dot set position player dot x score plus OK times 10, and then player dot y core. Let me move this up a bit. Alright, so this part is important. So we're saying if the number of stuff, which we set to 1, but we will increase later. If stuff is greater than list, that means that stuff is at its highest point right now, which means it's not lower than list and it's the same amount. If it's the same amount, that means you're not adding any more. If it is the same amount, what we're going to need to do is move all the parts into the X core, into the player's location, but plus 10. So if we're moving if we're moving left, the parts is going to go back, and then OK, which is, let me fix this real quick. If stuff is less than or equals to len list par equals to parts player stuff plus equals to 1. Let's change this to parts. Alright, so, and then we will else break if none of those work. And then while we break, what we are going to need to do is OK plus equals to 1. So OK plus equals to 1, which will tell the computer that, oh, we finished the first thing in the list. Let's go to the next one. And since we're going to the next one, we're going to need to increase the OK value, so the next one will be behind the first one. Try to explain that as best as I could. Now, is that still in the for list? So now, let's set OK back into 1, so that way it could keep running. The OK would not increase, making it act all weird. So since we've done that, let's have our if thing. If player dot x core equals to food dot body dot x core, and player dot y core equals to food dot body dot y core. So we're telling the computer if they're equal, like if they're on the same X and Y location, that we're going to change the location of the food and add 1 to the eating value, which is basically a scorekeeper. So I might change that later, but who knows. X equals to random.randits 130 y equals to random that's randits negative 180 180. And then we do food body dot set position X, Y. So we'll change the position of food. And let's add 1 to eating. Eating plus equals to 1. And then print collected. So this I would definitely delete this later, but we would need to know if we collected it or not. For me. It's for me coding it. Time.sleep. That way I can read when we do collect it. Just kind of read slow. Or either I read slow or I notice it slowly. So now print str, change eating to string, and then have been eating so far. Again, just for me to know, I will change it later. So this is what I was talking about. List dot append I. This is why it's important. We're going to add 1 to the list. We're going to add I to the list every single time player gets something. If that makes sense. And then under this, we're going to have an if statement saying if player dot x score greater than or equals to negative 130, very important, or player dot x score less than or equals negative 130, and this is greater than or equals to 130, we want to break the loop. And this will be important later. And then under that, let's have another if statement. If lined it right, yep. Else if player, because I want to make it easy for them to be able to collect it without any troubles. If player minus 5 equals to food, so that they have to come that close. Food dot body dot x core and player dot y core. Player dot y core minus 5 equals to food dot body dot y core. This same function is going to run. That's all of this. We're just going to have to copy and paste right here. Alright. Copy and paste. That easy. One more else statement. Because we did minus, now we need to do add. And then that should be all for this function. The rest we can probably just copy and paste. Let's see. If player dot x core plus 5 equals to right, I almost lost track. Food dot body dot x core and player dot y core minus 5 equals to food dot body dot y core. And then again, copy and paste. Let's scroll down, and we're going to need one last if statement. Because in case none of this are true, but the player have passed the boundary line. Okay, let me move on. X and Y, we want the player to die. That's kind of dark, but you know what I mean. X and Y. If player X core is less than or equals to negative 130, or player the X core greater than or equals to 130, alive equals to false, and break. Interesting. But before we do that, let's change the others to alive equals to false as well. Alive equals to false. Alive equals to false. Alive equals to false. And then right here, we would say if alive equals to false, print game So we're clearing the window. Ooh, good lord. So we're clearing the window because it's game over. No point. You're dead. Keep it moving. So now we can just copy all of this. Yep. Yes, sir. All the way over here. Copy. Okay. And then right over here, we just paste. See, pretty easy. Okay, but before we paste, we're just gonna change a few things. We're gonna need to do add. Blah, blah, blah. This works. Yeah, and we're going to turn this into minus. Going down the list. Going down the list. Look about right. Okay. Okay. It looks about right. It looks about right. For this, we can copy and paste too, but we are going to need to change a few things. For example, let me scroll up. Not YX. It's going to be YX, not XY. YX, not player. It's really going to be player score. And then this will be YX, close. Okay, work. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Minus okay times 10. Yeah, that should work. Now we are going to copy and paste all of this. Yep. Copy and paste. And then paste. That should work this time because the only thing we really need to change for you is shoot X, Y. When we're going up, we add plus. Right, I forgot to change that, my bad. We're adding. Oh, Lord, kind of hard to see. Yeah, we subtract because we're going down. Why is it called that D? R left. I should fix this out soon. Alright. Feel like I'm missing something. Let's run in and check it out. Give it a second, let it load. Alright. Okay. What the? So, down. 1 second, let's let's re-roll that. Okay. Okay, so let's try again. Okay. Up goes down. Very interesting. Very interesting. So the left and right key works perfectly. Down acting up. Up acting up. Down. This is where debugging comes in. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna have to pause right here and fix it. What's up, y'all? So there were a few things that I changed. Cause for example, let me go. Ravier. Whenever we get the list append, I decided maybe I shouldn't use the string I. Maybe it would be better to use the part, the actual class called part, right? So we can basically delete this because this is irrelevant now. Just we are no longer using it. So I did that, and then for the for statement for I in list, if stuff is greater or equals to len list, I dot body. So I'm using I now instead of using the pin, the parts dot body dot set position. I decided to just use I instead, right? And let's see how that looks. Oh, anything else that I changed? Let's see. That was pretty much it. So let's check it out. Alright, so looks pretty good. Dang, cannot take it right. Oof. Game over. I guess that statement works for sure. Let's rerun. Okay, let's get it. Okay, collected. Have one so far. Wait, now there's a problem. Because why is it acting up like that? Okay. That's weird. Does it have to wait up to 2? Okay. Adds. At least that works right. But yeah. And I feel like the reason for this is because my for if statement. Shoot, how do I say this? Because somewhere in my for if statement, I did stuff less than by set stuff equals to 0. At least that's what I remember. No, stuff equals to 1. So maybe that's not one. Oh shoot, I'm about to die. 1 second. Oh, okay. Now this is kind of pretty slow. I might increase the speed later. But by the looks of it, we did pretty good. It looks functional. It looks like an actual functional program, which is good. I'll give myself a clap on the back for this, which is weird. Alright, that's enough of this. But there will be one more thing I will add. 1 second, I'm just going to let myself die real quick. Okay. There will be one more thing I will add, which will be, well, add and delete. We don't need this. We don't need the time function either. That's this. I was going to delete that later on as we moved on. But don't get it wrong, we do need the eating because we're going to need it when we do die. So it's going to bring you at blah 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 blah. Score. Damn. Oops, my bad for cursing. Delete this. Scroll down. Delete this. Delete this. And now y'all thinking, why did I add it in the first place if I was going to end up deleting it later? Because when I was making the code, I had to make sure that we did that something. And that was like my visuals showing me that we did. You know? And now we don't need this anymore. We can just get it out the way. Goodness Lord gracious. That's just so much typing. Kind of crazy. Let's just look over here to make sure we don't have any of this anyway. Look at that. That look true. Make sure you don't got it. Right, it's clear, delete. Lord, what do you want, child? Load. Okay. Load. I'll pause the video till it loads again. Oh, never mind. Okay. Ooh, I lost track. Where was it? What was it? Okay. Good stop. Those days that are like stop. Ooh. Okay. Now I'm gonna give me a heart attack real quick. But you know, live and learn. So here's one more thing I need to add. Dang, this is a long code. I've grown in my coding. It took me a minute. I just noticed. Anyway, going on to this statement. Print your score is. This is why we had the eating variable, so we can be able to see our score. Did I write that right, or am I tripping? Okay. Let's get it, boy. Skip it, I'm not like all that. Let's see. It's loading. Give it a second. That's about it, folks. Works perfect. Well, it can always work better, but it was good. It works good. So I give myself a little pat on the back on that. So that's how you make a snake game in Python. See y'all later. Peace.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.